Hello everyone, I am Olaflade and welcome back to my glorious Wonderland. So this week is a bit different to my usual stream of unboxing, which not to say that I don't have anything to unbox. I have quite the backlog of gorgeous figures I just am dying to bring out and collect, but also share with all of you lovely collectors. However, this week turned out to be a little bit of a maintenance week. Well, to my collection anyway. I was moving around a few things. I also bought 2 pre-owned figures, which I didn't decide to record, but as I was unboxing them and they needed a little bit of love, let's just say, I decided just to record the whole thing because I ended up fixing up and cleaning some other figures that have been way overdue to get their place sorted properly on my shelves. So without further ado, let's bring up the first image. So you can see I wasn't planning to record this at all, but I still think it's good to know as it's a part of any collector's life. Let me explain what we are looking at here. So these are figures that have been waiting to be glued, and what was the final straw is probably the Shana figure. So the yellow jacket, I took her head off so it would be easier for her to dry. I was dusting my Shana shrine and I was dusting carefully and her pegs just broke, which is very frustrating, but I guess it makes sense because she is an older figure and the plastic is quite brittle. So even though I was taking care, I think the weight of her head, how I was tilting her, just gravity, snap. So that was very frustrating, and though I could probably use a little bit of wire, drill it into the sole and make a bit more of a stronger bond, I decided to just see how I go with gluing her. Thusly, I brought out everyone else, and here we are. So the other figure I wanted to glue is that Shana. This I bought pre-owned for $12. That was pretty epic, but her sword that's wrapped in the cloth was broken off, so I had to glue that on, which is tricky because it's got a bit of a bend. So the best way I found to glue figures like this is to use some string. Like this is cotton string, so it's not going to damage the figure, but I can tightly bind it, wait for it to dry, and then take it off, and then usually I've had best results using this method. The other method I've used, which is on the other figures, is some sticky tape, but not stuff that's going to leave tacky, terrible residue, but just easy, removable, cheap tape, and that usually keeps it in place, though I felt like I was going cross-eyed doing the Tanya the Evil one, which is the tiny little thin bit at the end of her rifle. That's what snapped off, and to get that balancing in the right middle spot, I think I've done pretty good, but that made me feel like I was going cross-eyed. So I had a bit of a gluing station. I use epoxy resin glue. It's like a 2-part glue. I just put on some foil, mix it up, and then you have roughly 5 minutes working time, and it's a very strong bond. It bonds most plastics, a few other materials. You mainly use it for plastic, so I haven't read it for a while. That's the best glue I've found. You could ideally use super glue, though I love to use this glue because it's a bit more of a goo consistency, and I find super glue is too easily uncontrollable, can easily drip out on your figures. You can apply too much with this, you can apply a little bit, and if you want you can add more or you can take some away, and you have a bit of working time too. But that is the best method I've found. Before I forget, I have to mention a must when always gluing is to cover the areas you don't want glue to drip on. I always have a spare tissue near me to just quickly soak up glue, because the last thing you want is to have like an ugly glue stain on your figure where you can see it in plain sight, and it just ruins it. So I highly recommend covering the majority of the figure if you can. You could use tape or a cloth or a roll or something just securely, so you just don't get any glue drips on figures, because it's just, I haven't had it happen to me yet, and the one time it did, I was able to fix it before anything because I had some towel on hand, but it can very easily happen. So caution when always gluing. Here are all the patients back from hospital, and you'll also notice Kill Ryuko on the end, because she had a nasty case of, I guess, tobacco staining, so she smelt a bit, and I used a bit of cream cleaner, usually used for ovens and also bathrooms, gently, and was able to remove the majority of that, which you'll see later in this video when I clean some other figures. You'll notice that my circus Rem and Ram are looking perfect, and let's have a look. You wouldn't even know that Ram was split in the middle and they also had paint transfers you can't even see. And now the tray slightly slid while it was drying, so I'm very disappointed at that. So as long as you're not looking too closely from a downward angle, she is perfect. But apart from that, I am thinking of changing her to a demon form regardless, just because I want to change anyway. And you'll see on our right a little sneak peek of one of the figures that we will get to in a moment. Now moving on, as you can see, my Tanya, this will be hopefully a Tanya section soon, and her end of the rifle looks pretty straight from here. Let's have a side view. But that was definitely tricky, because then also removing the tape, I didn't want to snap it back off. But that's looking pretty good if I do say so myself. And since we're here, I thought I'd give a little bit of a sneak peek of my albedo shrine area, which is just, what can I say, it brings me so much joy looking at, and it's fun moving around trying to find the best way of displaying it, which I'm not sure if I'm quite happy with this, but for the moment I'm quite happy with it. Moving on to the main portion of this video, which like I said, inspired me to do a little bit of maintenance. I bought 2 pre-owned figures from a seller off Marketplace. Even though they took very good pictures, the seller was very lovely, and they also packed the figures pretty well. One is this. I haven't seen, I think this character's from Shining Hearts. I just love it because it's a Neko cat maid. I love cats. I love the maid outfit, and I thought, and you've got the real tights, so I thought, ooh, I think I might pick this up. But as you can see, she needs a bit of a bath, a little bit of love. And I took pictures of the base like I showed there, and also you could see the dust, and I started cleaning it. And this is when I started recording, because I thought, well, I might as well share this process, because it just shows you that even if you buy pre-owned figures, you might not know the state that they're in. And the base was probably the hardest to clean. I used a bit of that cream cleaner, which you would have seen on the side. I used the brand Jif, but that may not be available in your country, so just any sort of cream cleaner, that's what it's called. It's a bit of a weird name, but anyway, I thought also I had to point out that her butt cheeks are imprinted in on the under layer, optional layer for her skirt. And now the tricky thing with this, and you can see me even just wiping there, the dust on it. But like I was saying, you just can't tell when you get pre-owned figures, and she needed a bit of love. And also I was quite complex to how I was going to clean her without getting her tights wet, because probably there's ink dye in there, and I didn't want to stain her legs. Oop, don't mind that view. That's just me assessing how I'm going to clean this. I also noticed that her head was a little bit wobbly, and I also saw a part behind her fringe, and as you can see there, I removed it. I'm not sure if she has an optional face. Again, I'm not sure. I did look up her name, I've got now, but I just love this design, the scale. I thought this figure's gorgeous, and you know, I just kill for cats. I love cats, so I had to get her. Those pieces came off, so this might help me clean a little bit easier. Starting with her hairpiece, and oh my goodness, look at the gorgeous sculpt. As you know, 2 musts for me, or at least big sellers for me with a figure, is beautiful hair and beautiful clothing, and this figure ticks both boxes magnificently. And if you're wondering what I'm using there, I'm also using some dish detergent, so it's like a gentle, generic dishwashing detergent, and I use that for the majority of cleaning my figures, because it's a gentle but also assured way to clean your figures properly, as well as getting rid of, I guess, a little bit of bacteria. I could be wearing gloves, but because I was worried about the tights, I had to kind of keep a better eye on my dry and wet hands, just to make sure I won't accidentally get wet, you know, have wet glove and accidentally touch the tights. Not saying I'm not sure if it would do anything, but just want to be on precaution, because having tinted skin in an unnatural color is not exactly going to look well. Finishing up with her face, which looks kind of bizarre. So did her fringe. Moving on to the tricky bit. Now, I looked as hard as I could, and I don't think there was anything else I could pull off or wash separately. That is the fun thing about getting pre-owned figures that doesn't have a box, doesn't have instructions, and you're not sure how it comes apart. And finding out how it comes apart. So it's not the first time this has happened. Now fixing up on the bottom again, it looked like this figure got dragged across the shelf, which kind of makes me cringe a bit. Maybe if it was a clean shelf I'd be fine, but knowing that it was a dirty shelf, just telling from the bottom of it, it just makes me cringe. So just trying to get all traces of that off and trying to clean her boots. I got very close to the tights there. Again, I'm not sure if it'll do anything, but just to be on the precaution side. And then I also decided to dust the tights afterwards when it's dry with one of my makeup brush dusters. That's probably as clean as I could get it in the most gentle way with being careful. Anyway, now trying to just wash off the detergent. It's good to try to make sure to get all traces, because I'm not sure if it being on the paint for a long period of time will affect it. I've washed many figures like this before. I've always made sure that the detergent's off completely, and I've had no issues, and I've just dusted them with a makeup brush ever since, and they've been in ideal prime condition. Oh, look at her tail. Just how it wraps around her like this big fluffy blanket. Oh, just adore it. Now then, while she dries, let's move on to this other figure. Wow, this feels so weird unboxing like this, so chill, I guess. Look at the cherry blossoms on the side. So, this is my first racing Miku. And hello, Snowy. I wonder where he came from. He's got sleep in his eyes. Excuse him. I'll have to give him a little bit of cleaning later himself. Get in line, my dear. Oh, he's so fluffy. Oh. You want to stick around and see what this Miku looks like? So I got this from the same seller. That previous figure I got pre-owned for 100 AUD dollars. This figure I got for 250 AUD dollars from them, which I think is pretty good. That's, I think, is pre-order price. I was looking at this for quite a long time, and I thought, had a bit of a week where I felt like I needed to get something. Well, I didn't need to get something, but I wanted to get something. This popped up and I thought, I've said no to it so many times, so I thought I'll say yes. It's not because I didn't like it at all. I adore the figure. But I just thought, oh, I wasn't sure about the wings, I think. Anyway, bringing her out of the box and like, I guess the Symphony 2017, I think, Miku, her skirt surprisingly comes off. Which is, I guess that's the option for anyone who would like that. I personally won't be displaying her like this, but you can have short-haired Miku without a skirt. There you go. And these are quite nice. Her butt is very nicely defined, let's just say. And now she looks absolutely fine in my bedroom, but now that I bring her into the bathroom, having a closer look, you can see the layer of dust on her. So I was hoping I wouldn't have to clean her, but it looks like I'll have to as well. So you can see there on her sleeve. So I'll gently disassemble her and give her some love as well. You can see also from her kneeling down on the ends of her feet, it's been on a dust shelf for a while and it makes little marks. But I was able to get those off gently with detergent and also a little bit of Jif in those harder areas. And here she is, all perfectly cleaned and put together. And I'm so happy I finally decided to get this figure. I've looked at this so many times. I've never got her, but I've got her pre-owned and I do not regret it at all because she is just stunning. Her hair, the details, the Sakura feel, and even though the one thing putting me off slightly was the wings, but because they're kind of robotic and pink, it works very well. Because it was bordering weird fairy vibes and that's not kind of my direction as a collection, but I think it works. Plus, I can have her without them if I so desire, like you can probably get away with it, but I actually quite love them in the end. Now, without further ado, let's go to a quick showcase to have a look at these finer details of these two gorgeous figures. ultimately, I just absolutely love the new additions to my collection as well. Both the cat maid from Shining Hearts and also my first ever racing Miku. I won't lie, probably tempted to start, dare I say, a Neko shrine. And the gorgeous pastel Miku probably will join my Sakura shrine. I'm sure she'll be most welcome there with my other Mikus. So, there you go. I had quite the multitasking week, it felt like. But I'm pretty happy at the end of it. Some of those figures I really wanted to fix up, whether they just needed a quick clean or a glue. And moving around a few things, can't wait to show you all, hopefully soon. Next week I'll have a nice juicy unboxing. Thank you all so much for joining me this week. I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I did. And until next time, stay safe, treat yourself, and I'll see you then. Bye!